All right. Okay. Let's see. All right. So I think my earbud is in. I should have done a sound check. Hopefully, this is coming through okay. So I just finished doing a video on basically what my thoughts are on being a stay at home mom. And so now I want to give you the pros and cons of being a working mom. For those of you who are new to my channel and the Black Opinionated Bow, I can't even get the words out. Let's try this again. I'm the Black opinionated woman, also known as a bow, and I was just giving notification that my situation is trademarked. So in the next few months, I will have an R that will replace the TM on my logo. But anyway, so let's get started. So, yeah, the last video I talked about the pros and cons of being a stay-at-home mom. And look, there's so much more I could have gone into. But now I want to talk about the pros and cons of being a working mom. So this was the thumbnail you should have selected to get into this video. Okay, so look, let me just start with the cons this time and then I'll end positive since last time I started with the pros. I'm going to start with we're going to just talk about mom guilt. Now, there are so many people who deal with this, especially if you are a Black woman. Most of us have had to work. Okay. We've had to work, and there's guilt because you want to be present for more of your children's activities. You want to have more of a hand in their foundation, in their affirmation, especially as a Black parent or Black mother, right? You do the best you can while you're at work, and then you're exhausted when you come home. You gotta cook and help with homework and all these other things, especially if you are a single parent. So you have to rely on like other people to help your children, move along. And that's not just Black women, but I'm speaking from a Black experience. So especially depending on where you live, it's really tough when you have Black children because you want to affirm in them who they are. You want to have a hand in what they're learning and that type of thing. Whether it's from a school standpoint, whether it's from a beauty standpoint, whether it's from a value standpoint, there's so much that goes into raising children. I am constantly affirming my children because where I live, there aren't many people who look like us. So I am constantly affirming who they are. If you are a working mom, it's going to be so much more difficult. You will have that guilt because you will feel like, man, I wish I could have been there for X, Y, and Z. For those of you who are wondering why is she talking about being a stay-at-home mom and being a working mom as well, I've been on both sides. I was afforded the opportunity to be a stay-at-home mom for 3 years, and now I have returned to work. It's been almost a decade since I've been back at work. So, yeah, mom guilt. It's very real. When I was home, I was able to make so many more of my children's school activities, volunteering class, all that kind of stuff. Um, and I also definitely had a hand in picking their schools and daycares and stuff like that. At a young age. I wanted my children to be affirmed. They had Black daycare providers, Christian daycare providers, so they got that Black experience. And it sounds so silly, but they got the Black songs, the gospel songs or whatever, the really cool time for nap songs and all that stuff like that. They saw kids that looked like them. They saw little girls with the ponytails that looked like theirs, like my daughter, and little boys with their little haircuts, and you know, just the way like when parents picked up their children, or like just all that stuff. I had a hand in that. I was present at home. I was present in the schools and the daycares and volunteering and everything like that. And they could see who they were, who they learned the same stuff, but they were made to feel they had an opportunity to not be an other because they saw me and they saw people around them all the time. But when I went back to work and I wasn't able to be around as much, and then also depending when they started getting older and going to other kinds of schools, and I know at one point we removed them from private schools and they're in public school because 4 children is a lot to put through school. Um, I definitely had a lot of guilt because they didn't have as many people that looked like them, and I couldn't be there to protect them. I could not be there to protect them. And dad couldn't be there to protect them because he was working to provide for us as well. Um, it was tough. It was tough. I wondered, was I making the right thing? But I'm going to move on to the next thing. Was we were working because we wanted to create generational wealth. My family was not necessarily wealthy. My husband's family was a lot more stable, and they were a lot more financial savvy. So my husband and I, we had a plan, and my husband was like really like ruthless about our plan. Like I was firm, but he was ruthless about the plan. So the way we invested and saved for our children, we have a trust. I said trust, with a T on it. We have a trust. So because we had a plan for how we wanted to have generational wealth and leave a legacy, um, as my children were older, and also for my own fulfillment, it was better for me to go back to work. So the con is I was no longer able to be more present for every little thing. And I'm one of those parents. I'm like, if something goes down, I'm on it with the teachers, right? Well, I wasn't in the classroom. I couldn't do the volunteering and take on all the school trips anymore. So I definitely felt that mom guilt. Um, Let me tell you the other con of being a working mom. Your child care expenses are going to be astronomical. Generally speaking, unless you just have a major hookup. Whether you're in a daycare, which I still think all children should have, you know, early education, or before and after school program. Let me tell you, I remember when all of my children were school age, I was like, hallelujah. And then my husband would work a schedule where someone would go in early and then someone would take like the normal shift. And then that way we had them covered in the morning and the afternoon. Um, but yeah, definitely your childcare is outrageous. Um, your time, you definitely have to be really good with managing your time because um even now with me being a working mom, um the 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 things I want to do for myself, I find that I'm sacrificing. I'm not as healthy as I used to be. Meaning I was super fit, right? Um, my time is limited because I'm gone during the day. You got to actually commute into work and then come home. So that takes a significant portion out of your day. And so what happens is, um, when your time when you have limited cycles, that cuts into the ability for you to be healthier, especially when you know that like my kids are playing sports. 3 out of my 4 children play sports, so my husband and I were constantly going to practices and games and all stuff like that. And my kids also are relatively social, so they have friends and there's parties and all this stuff like that. So what happens is my time is so limited. It is limited. You got to make sure their homework is done. You got to get that meal out. You got to get them to their practices and everything like that. And so that's the downside of being a working mom. You don't have enough time. Um, Being a working mom, I will say there's a lot of pressure to perform because many of the men I work with still, though, they do have stay at home wives and moms or whatever for their family unit. So they don't have to worry about anything other than performing. But I still have to worry about phone calls. Well, so and so didn't hand it his homework. And I'm like, oh my goodness, like you still didn't hand that in? Like you did it. I laid eyes on it and you're not handing it in. Or, you know, so and so had detention because he was playing on a computer instead of listening to class or something dumb. Like, I'm taking phone calls. I'm constantly having to now deal with all of the appointments. My husband does help out. Let me tell you something. My husband is a good dad and he helps with all these appointments. And if he's doing the early shift, he does the meals. If I got the early shift, I do the meals. Actually, he does a better job of it than I do, but I'm better at the homework. You're I will say, with my time being limited, there is so much more pressure for me to perform at work, right? Because I don't get the luxury of just being average and performing. I have to be twice as good. And knowing that I still may be interrupted. And like there's times when I have to do a hard like control alt delete. I'm like, this is a hard stop for me today because I have things I have to take care of when I get home. Many of the people I work with, as many of you know, I am an engineer. Well, they don't have to worry about those hard stops at times because they have someone at home that can handle that load for them. Well, my husband and I both work now. So like I said, that's a con for being that's one of the things that I say is a con as far as being a working mom. Um, I will say one of the things I have felt, and other women have felt this, is the pressure to place um, your family over work. Well, it's not pressure for me to place my family over work. It's pressure for work to want to take precedence over my family. Just this past week, I've had to tell someone I have to go. I had to do like hard stops because they would go and go and go. And I'm like, they have wives that are home, but I'm here at work now. And like I said, because we have this goal, we want generational wealth, we want to maximize our capability. um Me being there and me being a professional, when I'm at work. Like that's just literally what it is. And then I'm just at that point in my life, I have hard stops. I just do. The balancing act, let me tell you, I think this goes more along with I would say identity. I think because I'm one of those people, I enjoy mental stimulation, not necessarily working. I enjoy mental stimulation. I enjoy mature conversations. I enjoy the mental gymnastics of certain conversations. And it was better for me to go back to work, right? But it becomes a balancing act. B- as far as like, how do you identify? Do I identify myself as a mother, a wife, an engineer, someone who played sports, and that type of thing? What does that mean? You know, it definitely became a balancing act, and I realized that when I was a stay at home mom, I think society gave me basically one gigantic identity, which is the stay at home mom of like 5 million children. When I went back to work, it was someone who was a professional. It was also a mother, a wife. Like all of a sudden, I got all these other identities. And it could just be the way I was viewing things or the way I continue to view things. But I definitely would say there is pressure to make sure that you keep your family unit as a priority over work, because people will try to hold you hostage in meetings and they don't want to let you go. And I'm like, I have a hard stop. No, I don't want to start another meeting. And that happens today. It happens to me constantly. So, but those are some of the cons. But I want to talk about the pros of being a working mom. I get to show my children what it's like to have a good work ethic. I get to show them what it's like I get to live by example what it's like to manage my time. I get to show them what it's like to achieve goals and success when you work hard. Some of it's a little bit of luck, or in my, I would say, more God blessings of opening certain doors. But just to be able to show them how to work smart, work hard, have good work ethic, continue to better yourself, to get better, and to reap the rewards. My children see a mother who leaves and does her thing at work, and then she comes home and she has a schedule. She's there for her children in the afternoon. So, as someone who trades time for money, I am not a wealthy person, but I show my children what it's like to have achieved, what it's like to achieve, what it's like to be a contributor in the home, which brings me to income. The really cool thing about being a working mother, I would say one of the pros was it for me, and everybody's different. I think it was good for my self esteem, not because I want to work, but More so because I was able to command a certain salary. I was able to contribute to our home, to actually, not that my husband felt pressure, but man, it's nice when you are a contributor in a way that my husband doesn't have to feel unnecessary pressure, even though he's taking care of us. To be able to work in unison, in the same direction, to help further our goals along much quicker, much faster, because I am a contributor. I think it's a great thing. There's nothing like when a man knows that his wife is smart enough to help manage the finances, and she understands the vision for the family, not some dingbat. When you have a wife who understands business stuff and understands investments and understands the vision of where you want to take the family. So let me tell you something about a woman who was independent, who continues to be independent, modern, all this stuff that like these men don't like. The great thing about that type of woman is when the man has a vision and she agrees and she's on board, watch how she will support that vision and make this happen. Let me tell you, we put ourselves on a plan. And I think we're where we want to be much quicker. I was like, I'm going to help grow this. I'm going to help multiply this. Women will multiply whatever it is that you want to do. As a working mom, to contribute and support where your husband wants to go. And if I didn't work, I'm not saying we're living a lap of luxury, but we're not going to miss any meals. We'll be okay. Um, Let me tell you something. I think it makes for our family dynamic, it makes it a lot easier when you can contribute and make sure that your finances are stable. Not only that, I want to say this. As a woman, I have agency in myself. That is so important. I didn't stay out of the workforce so long where I couldn't get back in. To be able to have agency in myself, should something happen to my husband or should he dumb me up, I want to leave all of this, right? To be able to have the confidence to know that I can take care of myself, I can take care of my children, it makes me feel good. I think as we all have insecurities, right? It's great knowing that if I need him to hold it down, he can hold it down. But it's also good knowing that I can take care of myself too. I have agency in myself. So that's one of the great pros of being a working mom. So yeah, you may experience some mom guilt, but let me tell you, having agency in yourself is incredible. I was able to start fulfilling certain goals that I had for myself. It's so important to be able to do that. I think it makes for a healthy mother. So I would have loved to have contributed more to my channel, but I don't necessarily have the cycles, right? That's a con. I don't have all the cycles, but I still get on here and I still put in the time. I still put in some effort. I give my best effort when I can. For you, most of you know that I don't typically do a whole lot on the weekends. I try to just reserve that time for family and just for me to like tone it down and reflection and all that good stuff. But like I said, being a working mom, it helps me to be able to set goals for myself, set goals for the family. I actually feel like I have higher self esteem because my whole identity is not wrapped up in being somebody's wife. I can support the vision that my husband has. He didn't ask me to do it, but I did it. And when by me doing it, it helped multiply. I'm like, I see where you're going. I want to support it. And to be able to support someone who has vision, who has a plan, a proven plan, and then you get on board and you're both in sync, it's a beautiful thing. When a man makes a woman feel secure, and look, like I said, women want sexual security, We want physical security, emotional security, educational security, spiritual security. We want security. When a man makes a woman feel secure, watch how she will make his home life better. I'm telling you. I'm telling you. Anyway, so I just wanted to throw those things out there as far as the pros and cons of being a working mother. Okay. Like I said, I was very fortunate to experience both. And like I said, if you thought that you got anything out of this conversation, leave a comment. Leave a comment. Let me know your thoughts. Give me a thumbs up. I am curious to hear what people think. I know that many people who look like me don't have a choice but to work. And I hear you. I get it. I get it. But there's pros and cons to it. And I think for those who have a vision of where they want to go, I think that's a great thing, especially in the Black community, because generational wealth is lacking right now, and any opportunity to bring in income, at least for me, it was really important to be able to support my husband. He didn't ask me to do it in that way, just don't run us in the ground, right? But I was like, I can do you better. I can get out here and work too. And because remember, I did both. I stayed home and now I'm back to working. But also he knew I needed that for myself. I needed that agency in myself. I needed that. And like I said, it's not that I wanted to work, but I'm a professional. I wanted to achieve certain things. I don't know how much longer I'll do engineering. It may only be 1 minute. It may be 1 year, it may be whatever. But there were certain things I wanted to achieve, and then we'll go from there. I don't know how long I'm going to do it, but it is what it is. So anyway, all right, I'm rambling on. Let me go ahead and get off of here. I want to thank any of you who even can take the time to put a comment in there. Thank you, because I do read them. Not always timely, but I do read the comments. All right, I'm going to get out of here.